Yeah, and welcome back to Talking Knicks.
What was
Sorry, that was my
that?
motor. All right, I'm starting over. That was
Are you
ridiculous.
sure? Let's keep
What
that in.
was that?
It was a motorcycle.
Greg just got
Colby,
run
did
over
you
by a
start up your
motorcycle.
trike? What was that?
I think we just keep this in. Keep going.
That's a motorcycle in the living room. I'm going to start it over again. I think John Boy's going to end up leaving this, but yup. And welcome back to Talking Knicks, a New Year's Eve episode. You're listening 12:31, or you're listening after that. I am here. We got a full house, boys. We haven't had a full house in a while. With the brothers, Greg and Kenny Poon, Thomas J. Piccolo. You've seen him on the streets and in the sheets. We're going to talk some New Year's resolution. We're going to talk about the Knicks losing more. And let's just talk Knicks, fellas. Welcome back to Talking Knicks, the last Talking Knicks of 2018. Fellas, how's everybody doing today? I mentioned before, I'm joined by the brothers Poon, Thomas Piccolo. I'll start with Greggy. Greggy, how you doing? You excited for the new year? What are you doing for New Year's Eve?
I am excited for the new year. I'm going to Tom's house.
Ooh.
Tom, he's in this podcast.
It's a little uncomfortable. You said that, Greg. Not everyone here is invited, so.
So you're having a party, Tom.
Yeah, it's a small thing though, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, I heard there's only going to be a couple hundred people there.
It's
Hey,
friends only.
ask me what I'm gonna do.
Hey Kenny, what are you doing for New Year's?
Oh, I'm also going to Tom's party. Were you not invited? This is awkward.
I guess I'm gonna get on my motorcycle and get out of here.
If we don't leave in that sound, that's not gonna make any sense.
Good.
Now we got to leave it in.
Tom, well, this will be off the record. Nobody else is listening to this. Are you excited to host? What are you excited for?
Yeah, hosting should be fun. We got some strange background noise in this episode, but I'm cool with it. I've got a 12-week-old puppy. We mentioned it on the last episode. It's sitting right next to me. So if you hear a dog chewing on bones and crying, that's not me. That's the dog next to me.
That's probably me, actually.
It could be Jake.
Yeah.
But no, looking forward to hosting. We also hosted for Christmas this year, so we're just, we're enjoy hosting, having people over. It's like our first foray into being adults. So yeah, bring on 2019.
You had a pretty big 2018, Tom. 2019 is going to be tough to beat.
We bought a home, we got married, we got a dog. There's really nothing else to do. So
you're going to have a really bad year.
I think so.
Speaking of really bad years, luckily this is a Knicks podcast.
Segue.
That's how you do it in the biz, fellas. And we've fallen on tough times, guys. We are now on a 8-game losing streak. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-game losing streak. I'm sorry.
12 of the last 13.
12 of the last 13. We've got a West Coast road trip coming up, so we should turn it around there. At Denver, at LA, at Portland, at Golden State. Holy smokes, fellas.
I smell a win streak.
In a couple days, we may have the best lottery odds in the draft. And Kenny, while we're at lottery odds, I know you've been talking about this in a group chat. You want to any Knicks fans that haven't been following, you want to catch them up on where the NBA lottery is at?
Yeah, so if you haven't been paying attention, the lottery odds have changed this year. The worst, I believe it's 4 teams. No, worst 3 teams have the same odds for the first 4 picks. So the worst 3 teams have a 14% chance of the first pick, 13.4% chance of the second pick, 12.7% of the third pick, and a 12% chance at the fourth pick. So tanking helps still, but not as much. And based on the Knicks' history in the draft lottery, there's a decent chance that they'll just end up picking after 4th, just because that's how things go. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I think it's pretty wild, though. I mean, we talked a lot before this season and how, compete for the playoffs and wins are good, but lose as much as you can as well if you're going to get that draft pick. Right now, we are tied for the second worst record in the NBA, with only the defending Eastern Conference champion, Cleveland Cavaliers, with one more loss, but also one less win. So they technically have the advantage in losing right now. We're tied with the Phoenix Suns. I mean, Tom, you're my winning is good guy. Greg, you're my win the NBA championship every year guy. Tommy, where are you at, buddy? Just check. It's New Year's Day, New Year's Eve. Where are you at?
I mean, I am okay with losing as long as a couple things happen. As long as the right guys are playing minutes. Like, this team could be losing with Frank getting more minutes and shots, with Kevin Knox actually is getting his usage rate up and he's getting his shots up. So that's encouraging to see. But I mean, Frank really is a big one. You want to, and when Mitchell Robinson comes back, him as well, like playing over Cantor, it's okay to lose. It's just you want to see the process be in place where the young guys are getting their chance to shine and get some development in as well. Yeah, fine with the losing, but it's got to be done the right way. You have to lose the right way, and I don't think the Knicks are doing that right now. And I think that's the frustrating part is you're seeing too many opportunities for guys like Tim Hardaway Jr. He's putting up like 20 shots a game, and he's been completely incompetent on that end of the court.
Both ends.
I mean, yeah, obviously on defense, but I mean, he's there for offense. He's not even doing that. So when guys like Cantor are taking a bunch of shots and then pouting when they're not getting their way, it's just it has to be done properly. And right now, the tank doesn't feel right.
Losing the right way has just flown up the charts of potential autobiography names for my book. Whenever that comes out, losing the right way. Greggy, are you still trying to hang a banner from the rafters this year? Are you giving up on that? Where are you at, bud?
I'm giving up on that.
Wow.
I'm probably not even going to watch the Knicks play again this year.
Greggy.
I told you guys last night. I turned on the Knicks game in the middle of the first quarter. They're already losing by 20. After the first quarter, they're down 22. So me and my dad just called it, and we rented Rush Hour and we watched it. Had to pay $4. Yeah, I know. I was like, I'm just gonna watch Rush Hour. And I did it.
So, Greg, for the record, you're off the title full Rush Hour.
every time there's a Knicks game on from now on, I'm gonna rent Rush Hour.
That's a little tip for Knicks fans for the rest of the season. We'll start a new Rush. We're gonna start a Rush Hour podcast.
If we did a weekly podcast where we only talked about Rush Hour,
become a cult hit.
Yeah. they have 20 episodes and they only talk about this one movie. I don't
just scene by scene.
We'd be much more prepared. That's for sure.
We'd be ready to go. Guys, this past week we had the Christmas Day game. We lose versus the Bucks. We then lose at the Bucks, and then we lose at the Jazz, which was the game Greggy mentioned. Kenny, I'll let you start off. Is there anything worth mentioning? I mean, if we're gonna start turning this bright at all, is it Luke Cornett? What do you got?
So yeah, I mean, Luke Cornett played some solid basketball when he came in for Cantor. As Tom mentioned, Cantor did not take that well, and then he kind of got in a fight with Giannis and got kicked out of the game, whatever. I think the personal story that ties into the Jazz game is that they were on pace for one of their worst losses ever, and also tying it into the holiday theme a few years ago, my sister got us tickets for a Knicks game, which is a great thing to do. And it turned out to be their worst loss since 1960, which was against the Dallas Mavericks, where they lost by 50 points. So lesson is, like, just don't get people tickets to the Knicks games, because that's what can happen.
It's a true story. It was one of those things where you eventually just start rooting for the other team. And you're like, how bad can this get? Let's see.
I think we saw that on Christmas. Giannis got a huge applause when he got subbed out at the end of the game. The Garden was like, at least we got to see you play.
Respect.
Yeah. Things are bad.
Tom, you got any highlights or lowlights that need to be mentioned?
Man, I mean, Cantor really does feel like the low light right now, just off the court with all of his pouting and just he's like a fake, like the league has fake tough guys. He's like a fake team guy where he'll pretend to be all rah-rah and be like, these are my brothers. But then when he doesn't get his minutes or doesn't get his touches, he makes a scene and causes a distraction. It's not what a good teammate would do. So I'm really curious to see how Fizdale handles this, because it's one of the first times he's getting a chance to like send a message to a veteran who's really not acting the right way. I mean, hopefully Mitchell Robinson comes back sooner than later, so he has someone who he can actually put in his place who can play defense. But in the meantime, Kornet's been fine. He stretches the floor. He creates space for some of the other younger guys to help them attack, and he at least will put his hands up on defense. That's more than I could say for Cantor.
Yeah, Jake, I know you've brought up potentially getting rid of Cantor somehow. And what are you thinking about that? Let's hear it.
Yeah, let's Greg, let's go into, we're going to do a little New Year's resolution segment with the Talking Knicks crew. And you led me to it. But by the way, let me just a couple quick more positive notes. Noah Vonleh has led the team in rebounding the past 5 games. So go grab some boards, Noah. Luke Kornet led the team in assists against Utah.
That's not a bright note. That is bad.
That's not a bright That's right. Excuse me. So now that we're on sad notes, my New Year's resolutions.
Wait, let me jump in and also just say Vonleh played some solid defense on Antetokounmpo. And so the thought is, and I've seen some people suggest on Twitter, like maybe we just try to trade him now. I don't know, just because the way that he played defense on Giannis, maybe some team in the Eastern Conference is like, well, eventually if we're going to make it to the finals, we're going to have to play them, so we should probably bring in this guy on a cheap contract who, defended him solidly. So just a thought that's been passed around on Twitter.
Man, Vonleh's making like no money right now.
Yeah.
He's making like $800,000 or something.
He's on the minimum.
Yeah, and I mean, if you could get a first round, I really don't know what Vonleh goes for.
Ooh.
He's good, but I don't think the Knicks are pulling a first rounder just because he's going to be making more money in his next contract.
And here's my question: it's a similar question with Mudiay, even though I have questions about Mudiay. Are these guys playing themselves out of being in the Knicks' future just because they're going to command so much money, and maybe the Knicks aren't prepared to make those payments if they're planning to sign big names in the future?
It's going to be really interesting, and I think it's a great thing you brought up, Ken, is that it's the what happens next with these guys. I know Tom and I joked about it on the Christmas episode, but is Manny Mudiay playing his way into a starting point guard role? Is that with the Knicks? Is he playing his way onto to be a lead bench player for a good team? What's next for him? Noah Vonleh looked great on Christmas Day. I know I'm gonna pull a Luke Kornet here and throw a good pass to Greg with a chance for him to throw one of his favorite people to throw under the bus, Kevin McGovern, a lob guy. But Kevin McGovern texted us. He's a big Celtics fan. He texted us on Christmas Day and he said, "Yo, Vonleh's good." So Greg, Vonleh good? Kevin McGovern under the bus? What do you got?
Dude, Vonleh's good. He's been shooting it. I know Tom says it now and then. He was stroking it for a little bit. He's falling back down to earth a little bit, but just having a little bit of range. Plus, he just dunks on everyone. He's the energy guy that you love to see. And then he got the defense. He's got it all. I mean, I don't know that we're getting a first for him, but maybe you try to attach him to Courtney Lee, and get rid of them both together, package deal.
I feel like we're all kind of on the same boat with. I think we want to see Vonleh stay because right now he can have a role on any basketball team.
Yes.
And I want to say we're all kind of on team. If Mudiay goes, we're fine with that.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is I would like to keep Vonleh, and Mudiay I'm kind of indifferent about. And the question is, if that's the case, do we want to, just cut bait on Mudiay and trade him for something and get some value out of him? And Vonleh, do we think we're going to be able to keep him when it comes to it?
Yeah, and I mean, obviously, when you have Vonleh on the team, you have like he's going to be an unrestricted free agent, so you have a mild advantage as being the incumbent team, but he could still go anywhere he wants. It's still up to him at the end of the day. And going back to the worst team in the NBA may not be his cup of tea.
Well, the thing is, Vonleh is actually a valuable player in this league. I don't know that Mudiay actually is. I agree. He had a very hot stretch there for a while where he was getting to the rim and he was connecting at the rim. But I think he's fallen off a cliff lately. He's just relying so much on that short mid-range jumper he likes doing. He'll come off a screen and he'll just get his butt into someone behind him, and then he'll take a little leaner or something. It doesn't look great, and it's falling at a decent clip right now, but it can't be sustainable. So I'm pulling up the stats right here. He's only hitting on 54% of his shots at the rim, which is in the 40th percentile for point guards, when earlier in the season it was closer to the 70th percentile. So he's fallen off completely at the rim. He's kind of regressed to his former touch. And his mid-range jumpers are falling he's in the 93rd percentile on mid-range jumpers, and that's just not sustainable. He's not that great of a shooter. So I don't think Mudiay is in reality all that valuable of a player. I'd be happy losing him.
Yeah, and I agree with you there, Tom. I don't, and I think I've been saying it since the beginning of the year. I think on a good team, he's a backup point guard. He does not play defense particularly well. He can score the ball a little bit, albeit not particularly efficiently, and he can pass the ball a little bit, but not well enough to be, considered a good passing point guard. So I think that kind of limits his ceiling as far as what kind of player he can be if, the rest of your team isn't just really bad.
Around the horn, real quick. Are they both going to be on the team next year? One of them, which one, or none? Greg?
I guess Mudiay will be on the team next year.
Kenneth?
Vonleh will not.
I'm going to guess neither of them are going to be on the team next year. I want Vonleh to be on the team, but neither of them.
Greg's was a pretty dark outlook. I'm gonna take the optimistic route and say that they will re-sign Vonleh. I mean, Vonleh's been on a lot of teams in his short career. He may like some stability. He may like what the Knicks put him in an environment where he can succeed, and maybe he doesn't want to risk it. Maybe he'll even sign a short contract for the Knicks. I don't know what he's gonna do, but I'm gonna forecast that he'll be on the team next year. Mudiay will not.
I'll go glass half full with you, Tom. Feed me that energy, Greg.
I mean, that's what I want. That's what I want to happen. But are we talking about the same team as each other?
That's fair.
Yeah.
What have you seen the team make bad moves for the past 2 decades? Anyways, I like that though. That was a good talk, and it's definitely going to be a storyline. Are these going to be Fizdale's guys? Does he want to keep these, or do they stay in the Knicks' pay range, depending what free agents they can sign? Which free agents also segues into our New Year's resolutions. And I'll start. I didn't want to start here, but Greggy corneted me and gave me the pass, so I'm going to go with it from before. And Tom, you and I stumbled upon this, and we each gave each other a weird face. It didn't make sense. I think we release Enes Kanter towards the end of this season. I know we're thin at the big. The big, that's the position nowadays. I know we're thin there, but hey, Luke Cornett can play a little bit. Mitchell Robinson can play a little bit. You know, even bring up a G League guy. Enes Kanter does not factor into our future. He's not really helping the on-the-court product. And his off-the-court stuff is just too much. I mean, if a contender wants to take a chance on him to give him 12 to 15 minutes as they go for a playoff run, sure, knock yourselves out. But I think you kind of set the tone here, and you say, it's been real, it's been fun, but it hasn't been really fun. See you later, Enes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tom.
I just don't think that Kanter has been a net positive for this team. Like, I even saw Knicks Film School tweeted that playing Kanter actually helps the tank. That he's been that bad, that much of a net negative. So I don't know that other teams are going to look at him and think, I want that guy on my playoff team. But, you know, if the Knicks release him, I don't blame them. I don't think he's been a good chemistry guy. I think it causes some tension in the locker room that they don't need. I'd be all for releasing him at this point.
How at this point? Like tomorrow?
Ooh.
I mean, I guess it had to be when Robinson gets healthy, but even then, like Vonleh can play some small ball center, but it's tough. Like if you could just get away with playing Kanter 10 minutes a game, but his ego won't allow for that, so it puts the Knicks in a really hard spot. So I don't envy the Knicks management's position here. There's no good answer.
All right, so is he going to end the year on the team, Tom?
I was glass half full with the Vonleh Moutier thing. I'm gonna balance that out and say, yeah, Kanter will probably end the season on the team.
All right.
I hope I'm wrong, but we'll see.
So this actually got me thinking because I hadn't thought about this before, as far as because Jake brought this up before this whole last week situation, and I didn't think it made much sense. But with the last week and his reaction to Cornett starting, and kind of NBA Twitter has turned against him. I know when he came in, Jake said that his Oklahoma City friends said that we were going to love him. He's a guy that brings a lot of energy. He's a fun guy. And like people did like him for a while. And now the way that he has kind of behaved lately, everyone I see on Twitter is just kind of ripping him for being, like Tom said, like a fake team guy. And I hate to bring up more bad memories, but it's starting to make me think a little bit of Joakim Noah, where there wasn't there wasn't a good financial reason to cut him when we did, and then it came out that there was a good team reason to do it, which was like he was out partying too much and he was a terrible influence on everyone that they're trying to develop as team players. And if the Knicks are not fans of what Kanter is doing right now off the court, then maybe it does make sense, because there is no financial reason to do it. It doesn't benefit them at all. He's on the books either way if they waive him, and he's only on the books this year, so it doesn't make sense to trade him, and because you're not going to be able to get anything for him, I don't think. And to the extent that you trade him, you would probably have to take on salary and trade him as an expiring contract, and there's no reason to do that because this summer we're trying to get a big name free agent to come in, so we need that cap space. But there might be a team reason in that maybe they look at what he's doing now and they think this isn't what we want these young guys to be kind of seeing on an everyday basis. So we'll see what happens. I until Jake brought it up just now, and even when I saw it in the email, that he sent earlier, I thought no way, but now it's gotten me thinking a little bit. I still don't think it's likely, but I think it is more of a possibility than I thought previously.
He seems like the prototypical player that ends up joining one of these, playoff teams at the end of the year. He's a veteran guy. He's going to come in and does what he do. We'll see. I don't know. I think it would be almost a good message from the Knicks front office. Like this ain't going to cut it going from here on out.
So, I mean, how does this work for Kanter though? Like, if he gets cut, what team is he going to go to?
Oklahoma City.
Is Oklahoma City going to just throw him in the starting lineup? Because right now his complaint is that he's not starting. Like he said, I wanted to be an all-star this year, and now, like, look where I am.
I think it's more that he's not playing big minutes on the worst team in the NBA. I think if he was on the Thunder or someone who was actually good at basketball, he'd be more receptive.
Yeah, I think PR guy Kanter kicks in and he'd be like, love being back in OKC. I'll do anything to win with this team. And he'll do that the first couple games. He'll get the energy going, and then he might get a little pissy, but he'll say, we're doing anything to win for the playoffs. That Noah thing, it gave me the skeeves, Kenny. I can't think of that. Kenny, you got a Knicks New Year's resolution?
Ooh, put me on the spot. I got not an exciting one, but for Courtney Lee, man, just get right, man. Get right. I want him to get right. I'd like to see him, move on to a better team, and I think in order to do that, he's going to have to get everything right with himself as far as playing basketball. He's looked a little better lately. He's still a little slow on the defensive end, which used to be kind of what he was known for. So, all love, Courtney Lee. I want to see you get right, and I want to see you, get a chance in the playoffs this year.
That was emotional.
Yeah, love me some Courtney Lee, man. Put me on the spot.
That was from the heart. I thought for sure you were going to go Frank with it, but we'll get there. We always do, baby. Tom, I see you wrestling Colby a little bit over there. You got a Knicks New Year's resolution for me?
Well, so I'm writing a column for the B-Ball Index right now where I'm going to have 5 New Year's resolutions.
Ooh. Spoiler alert.
I haven't landed on all 5 of them yet. I have 4.
So
okay.
tell us the 5th then, if you've already
Maybe
written
we'll
4.
give you the 5th.
But the thing is, like, you need to have 5 to make a list. Otherwise, it has to be a nice number like that. Otherwise,
Can't be 4.
No, it can't be 4. Here's 4 Knicks resolutions. People are going to skip right over that.
Imagine if it was the 9 commandments.
Yeah.
Wouldn't work.
No, that'd be humiliating for everyone involved. So I need to find a 5th, but I can give you at least one of these.
Give us a teaser.
So the first one is going to be to improve. So it's kind of funny. Like, in general, the Knicks are dead last in the league in effective field goal percentage, and they're 29th in points allowed on defense. So points allowed per 100 possessions. So they can't shoot and they can't defend, which are like the 2 most important things in basketball. So you'd think that, like, you could really come up with any number of resolutions here, but I wanted these to be, like, very specific and measurable and attainable. So the first one I came up with was just improve defending the pick and roll. I got some synergy stats. I mean, the Knicks are probably the worst team in the league defending the pick and roll, but so per synergy, they defend pick and rolls on just about 30% of their defensive possessions, and they rank 28th in the league in points allowed on those pick and rolls. And that's before they played the Jazz. And that Jazz game was just atrocious. I put together this compilation of 6 clips where the Knicks gave up points to the Jazz on pick and rolls in the second quarter alone. It was just – I've never seen a team so helpless defending the pick and roll. So, like, one thing they can do to get better, like, and it's not just one thing. It's not like it's all Kanter's fault or it's all Emmanuel Moutier's fault. Like, everyone, there's no help on the weak side. the bigs don't do a good job of corralling the ball handler. Like they make every mistake defending the pick and roll. So if they can get closer, like not even league average, but closer to like 20th in the league instead of probably dead last at this point, then it would really make a huge difference. It's a third of their defensive possessions almost. So yeah, defend the pick and roll. That could mean more Frank minutes. Frank was one of the best guards in the league defending the pick and roll last season. He has the tools to do it. Would love to see more Frank minutes. And that would be a start. That'd be a step in the right direction.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head with Frank last year being one of the best pick and roll defenders in the league on the ball handler. And then I'd have to imagine in the future having, not this year, but having Kristaps Porzingis back will help at the rim. And those two things are two pretty helpful things that will happen next year, hopefully.
Yeah, Kristaps rim protection numbers. I remember those were incredible last year. That is a great point. I haven't thought about him a lot, and I miss you, big guy. Maybe that's my New Year's resolution. Start remembering Kristaps Porzingis playing basketball in the Knicks uniform. I think Greggy, I'll cut you off on your resolution because Frank's here and we just have to talk about it. And it's a resolution I wrote down some sample ones in the email earlier that Kenny referenced. Like, when's Fizdale gonna cut the shit? Like, pardon my French, but
can you say that?
Play Frank, even if he's bad. Tom just said we have the worst. We have what? The worst offense and the third worst defense, or was it reversed?
It was the worst effective field goal percentage, the worst shooting. They get to the Knicks get to the line a decent amount, and they grab a fair amount of offensive rebounds. They don't have the worst offense overall. They're just the worst at shooting the basketball.
Well, that doesn't matter. Shooting's not in today's NBA, right?
Yeah, it's all about rebounding.
It's still a big man league. Greg, you have anything new on Frank? Like, is this on Fizdale at this point? Is too much tough love?
Some of it is. I mean, the DNP CD on Christmas was a bad present. Honestly, I didn't buy anyone anything, and I think I did a better job than Fizz.
Ooh.
That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and just to add on to what Greg was saying, like Fizdale is playing this Zen master role where I think he's trying to show that he is a great motivator. And if you're a great motivator and you have this guy who hasn't been playing well because he hasn't been aggressive and hasn't shown much confidence, and you find out that his mom is flying in from France to watch him play, like you think that might get him going a little bit and like get him to be a little more aggressive in that game, and then you don't play him at all. Like doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, I mean the one thing we talk about Hornacek starting Ron Baker one game last year when we jokingly said, "Oh, his family must be in the crowd," and then they were in fact in the crowd. And that was his one start. And the funny thing is, it wasn't like Frank he didn't get a DNP CD the game before or the game after. It was just like, all right, sit down.
And that's another weird thing is that they lost that game by a decent margin, and Fizz just predetermined that he wasn't going to play Frank that game. The closing lineup of that game was, I think it was 3 or 4 of the starters. So he just made the decision that he wasn't going to play Frank. If you compare that to the Utah game, where he decided in the last few minutes to throw Trey Burke out there, who hadn't played all game, like, just be consistent. If you're going to decide that someone's not going to play all game, then don't play him. And Frank only played 16 minutes. Like, what's your fear there? Is that I know Frank didn't shoot it well. He had a cool dunk. But what's your fear there in just letting him play a few more minutes in a 40-point loss?
I honestly don't know. And we've definitely seen it this year that there is a plan, which I guess you feel good about that. But I mean, at this point, you're absolutely right. Frank should have played at least 8 minutes at the end of the Milwaukee Christmas Day game with Mom in the stands. Shout out. And I don't know. I guess there would be an excuse. One of the nights Moutier scores 30-plus points, you know what? Let it ride and turn to Frank on the bench and say, hey, if you ever have a night going, if you're on pace for 30 points, I'm going to leave you out there, kid. Go get it. Like, then there's something to be learned here. But as far as I'm concerned, play him. Is his defense too good?
Just don't know, Jake. I just don't know. And I know I tweeted out today what he said when he pulled out Dotson and Frank from the starting lineup was we weren't winning games, so it's not like it was winning games for us. And he gave those guys 9 games, and they went 3-6. And since then, Moutier has been in the starting lineup every game, and they've gone 5-18, which is worse than going 3-6. So, like, I'd like some consistency because he says a lot of stuff that doesn't correspond to what he does later. I just want to see some consistency and, like, understand what he's doing because right now I have no idea. And maybe that's part of his plan, but, like, it's frustrating to see as a fan, but maybe there's something going on behind the scenes. Everyone knows about it. They just don't want to tell the media about it. But I don't know. And so from my vantage point, it all looks like there is no plan and everything's going off the rails.
Yeah, hopefully the book comes out in about a decade or so, and Fizdale says, yeah, can you believe I was starting Moutier and Cantor, and it got us Zion Williamson? A boy can dream for the New Year's. Greggy, you got a Knicks resolution for me?
Yeah, I got one.
Too.
I got one.
Okay.
I was trying to think of a good name for it, but I'm gonna do two names for the same one. New year, new team.
Ooh,
colon, everything must go. we gotta have a fire. The fire sale has to happen. I don't care what we get in return. Give people away for free. I don't care. Cut Cantor. Trade Trey Burke for $20,000. I don't care. Just clear up the logjam in the backcourt. That way you don't have Frank and Dotson getting DNPs. Clear up the Cantor's attitude. Try to clear up Courtney Lee's salary if you can. Clear up Lance Thomas's salary next year. He's got $1 million guarantee, and I know $1 million is not much. If you stretch that, that's only a third of $1 million. But, imagine making a third of $1 million. It's a lot of money. So, just the fire sale has to happen. I think we can all agree on that. There's probably 5 people on this team we would like to see next year: Knox, Frank, Dotson, Robinson, Porzingis.
We'd like to see Vonleh.
We'd like to see Vonleh, but he's that's not up to us really. Yeah. He's unrestricted free agent, so
yeah,
he can technically come back if we get rid of him. We're all just Chapman.
Sure,
let's do it.
And I'm with you there, Greg. I think we gotta just start selling off pieces and get value while we can. And we touched on this earlier with Moutier and Vonleh. I don't know that those guys are going to be affordable to us this summer. And to the extent they're not, maybe we try to get something for them. Then there's a guy like Courtney Lee who probably doesn't have a ton of trade value right now. But I'd like to see him get to a contender and, give him an opportunity to do that. Same with Lance Thomas. You guys know I'm the biggest Lance Thomas fan out there. And I'd like to see him, get a chance with another team. Because I think, you guys might not agree with me on Lance Thomas, but I think he's a valuable piece. He can play some defense and he's proven himself to be a capable 3-point shooter, contrary to anything Zach Lowe might tell you. And that's a useful piece to have on a team. So I'd like to see those guys get chances. I'd like to see, Cantor not poisoning the team on Twitter. And everyone else, except for the guys that you mentioned, I don't really have that much of an allegiance to. I'll keep Trier as well while we're on it.
Yeah. That's what of course. Yeah. Trier.
I laughed out loud when I saw Lance Thomas guarding Giannis. Because every basketball game, I don't know if it's a mental block or a disease, but every Knicks game, I totally forget Lance Thomas is on the team. And then every time I do, every time I completely forget about Lance Thomas, I see him playing solid defense on Giannis. And I'm like, okay, Lance, go get some, young fella. But yeah, he does need a new home.
Yeah. And I wasn't even, like I said, I'd get value if you can, but if you can't, clear up the logjam in the backcourt. We don't need all these people.
Trade a couple of those guys, get a big cut Cantor. Boom. Do we talk to the Knicks GM? Tom, do you think there's anything you normally have stats and data, and you know I hate that stuff, Tom, because it ruins all the points I have to make. But do you think there would be a psychological anything? And we're supposed to have a big summer of free agency coming up. If the Knicks were to either have an impactful trade or clear house a little bit, do you think that can have an effect on the franchise overall, or we just wait for James Dolan to get sick?
Yeah, it's a little dark. I mean, I don't have my psychological stats pulled up here. But I will say that I just think that the Knicks franchise, as it currently is constructed, like they want to compete to a degree still. Like that's why I don't think they're going to get rid of Cantor, because like he helps them. He's an NBA player, and like they put him on the court, and like he'll do things that NBA players should do ostensibly. And like, I mean, how do you sell tickets to Knicks games if you cut all your players?
New York City.
Yeah, people are going to Knicks games no matter what. People have been going to Knicks games.
Have you seen the halftime shows?
Saying.
Seen people the dogs with the Frisbees?
Red Panda. People going to watch Celebrity Row.
You let the other team sell the tickets.
Kind of what's been happening.
That's true.
People were saying on Twitter that like the Christmas Day crowd was just a bunch of tourists, and they priced the price of the tickets has forced Knicks fans out of the games. So like they're gonna sell tickets no matter what. I don't know how we got on this topic, but they'll be all right financially.
The Knicks financially and James Dolan's still very healthy. I'm not wishing anything ill on him. I'm just saying. Some people think he's the reason the team's not good. Wrapping up the resolutions, and anybody else have a quick resi they want to get out there?
So I mean, we talked to Cantor about Cantor a decent amount, but prior to that, I was going to give a call back to the award that Greg gave to Ron Baker, former Knicks great, which was the Sit Down and Be Humble award. That's all I got.
Okay.
Just sit down and be humble. I feel like it's self-explanatory.
Sit down, be humble. Another Kendrick Lamar shout out. He opens for us. Love that guy. I think that ties off our New Year's resolutions a little bit, and it's a common Knicks theme. Get the young guys minutes. Don't make it look as ugly as it did against the Utah Jazz. We don't ask for much, but we'll see. I think it's going to be interesting, and it's definitely a point to circle in the season. I know it's one of my favorite jokes to say now, because NBA pundits used to say it so seriously that the NBA season doesn't start till Christmas. Well, we crossed it. The Knicks, I think, have been worse up to this point than we thought we were going to be. What are we going to be saying at the end of the year? It only went downhill from there? Are we going to say the Knicks turned it around and they ended up with the 8th pick in the draft and we're going to be mad about it? I don't know. That's why we keep watching, boys.
And Jake, the only resolution that I've got is just lose the right way. Just that's it.
The Jake story, Ellie story. Well, yeah, I think that's it, boys. It's man, that West Coast road trip coming out, I did not realize that coming in, how ugly it was. So yeah, we'll see. This may become a drinking podcast in a couple weeks.
Don't you guys have one of those six-pack cinema already?
There's a couple things you can find on me on the internet that I'd rather not talk about, Kenny. But I don't know, boys. I'll say this. Enjoy your New Year's party that I wasn't invited to. That sounds pretty nice.
It will be.
Thomas, be a good host, man. No pressure.
Look, Jake, if you were in the Eastern Seaboard,
Just don't even say it.
you'd get that invite every time.
You gonna spike the punch, huh?
I am.
Greg's got it covered. Greg, do you happen to have? I want to close it, but do you have that Ron Baker stat with his minutes on the Wizards?
First 3 games, 0 points, 14.3 minutes per game. Ron Baker, he's still doing it. Still doing him. And I also have resolutions for myself as well. Just one. I'm gonna start drinking before this podcast.
Drinking before the next podcast. Do it before the games and the podcast. Keep it constant, you know.
Like you all to join me as we crash.
We'll make it a live TV show. We'll do drink and watch the Knicks.
Man, this season is going to get really ugly. I've already been drinking, but I'm going to drink even more, I think, is what
Things are gonna get real fun for the audience eventually.
Yeah, we're going off the rails soon. I tried to start it with my rush hour bit, but these guys wanted to talk Knicks still.
Well, we'll see if we can get more rush hour talk going. For the boys, Kenny and Greg Poon, I thank you. Thomas Piccolo, I thank you. And watch out for his B-Ball Index article. Is that going to be out tomorrow, Thomas?
It should be out tomorrow.
All right. Well, we'll be checking out for that. If you guys have been listening, if you could leave us a 5-star review. If you want to find us on Twitter and talk about Rush Hour, we're there for that. At Talkin' Knicks. So thanks, guys. We appreciate you. We'll see you next time. Let's go Knicks.
Mixtape.